So you got a movie that is pretty much universally panned all around. Everybody pretty much lambashes the story, saying it's weak, boring, and more or less non-existent. So what do? You make a sequel 7 years later and further the story, of course. Hollywood logic, bitches! Beyond Skyline is brought to us by director Liam O'Donnell and stars Frank Grillo. We follow Mark Corley, played by Grillo, a Los Angeles detective that on the eve of the alien invasion is going to bail out his son from jail. Apparently this isn't the first time he's had to bail out his son Trent, played by Johnny Weston, from jail. Trent's been having some behavioral issues apparently since his mother died recently, and Mark's been having a hard time dealing with these behaviors as well as the death of his wife, resorting to the bottle. Upon retrieving his son from lockup, blue lights fall from the sky and the shit hits the fan. The aliens invade and Mark and Trent get together with a group of people as they try and make it across the city to safety. However, much like the first time, it's not quite that easy, and our heroes get caught up in a globe-trotting adventure that culminates with them being stuck in the center of what could possibly save the world. Beyond Skyline is the sequel to 2010's Skyline and the precursor to the more recently released Skylines. The first movie in the series, Skyline, that I recently reviewed, is not great. The movie for the most part is kind of a dull drab affair and doesn't really pick up until the final third. And by the time things start to actually get good in that movie, it ends. Now Beyond Skyline doesn't pick up right where Skyline ended. We actually see the invasion from another group's perspective, albeit a more interesting and entertaining perspective. We do eventually intersect with the characters from the last film and get some resolution as to what happened to them. Now, if you haven't seen that movie, I don't want to spoil it for you, but one of the main characters, the female in the relationship there, is pregnant. And in this movie, we get her child, and her child ends up going with our characters from this movie. Now, due to some of the stuff that the aliens were doing to her while she was pregnant, this child is a bit different, and she ends up being the key to what could possibly defeat the alien. Not really spoiling a whole lot there, that is just something that happens naturally in the story. And that's something that this movie did a whole lot better than the last one. The story here is actually interesting and entertaining. It ain't Shakespeare, but it does keep you entertained from beginning to end. Where the last one spent a lot of time trying to build characters that we just didn't give a shit about, this one just goes right into the action. We do get character development here, but it's done as things are happening. It doesn't just like slow the whole movie and attempt to build really boring characters. No, we get character building as things are happening. It's much more fluid and interesting, and hey, what do you know, entertaining. I said with the last film that I thought the premise was interesting. All the stuff with the aliens and the things that are going on I thought were interesting. We were just following really boring fucking characters. And this movie proves that point. It's the same premise, same aliens, same all of that, but a different set of more interesting characters, and the movie is better as a whole because of it. Now, we do go far beyond the time period of the first film. It's not like super deep or anything, but it is fun. It's entertaining. This is a fun ride. Beyond Skyline is ultimately a really high quality B movie. There's lots of action and thrills, and yes, there is some suspension of disbelief, but it's a good time. And while I can't say that you care about every single character here, you do care more about the most minor character in this movie than any of the other characters in the last movie. And our main characters are all very likable. You want them to succeed. You want them to see this through. You don't want anything bad to happen to them, and when they're put in peril, you feel for them. You're like, oh shit, don't die. Unlike last time when you were like, oh shit, please fucking die so this goddamn movie will fucking end. Now there's a little bit of a lull, a little bit past the halfway mark of the film. It's not terrible, and it only lasts for about 5 or 10 minutes, but it is a part where things really slow down and you're kind of like, okay, let's get things moving again. Thankfully, it doesn't last for too long, and when things do kick off from there, they kick off to fucking 11. Overall, the story and execution of Beyond Skyline is really good. It is miles ahead of Skyline, and I had a really good time with this movie. The performances here are markedly better than the last film as well. They do all kind of have that popcorn B-movie Michael Bay kind of vibe going, but they're not bad. They fit for this kind of movie. We're talking about a movie with big-ass aliens coming and going to war with us humans. We don't need Oscar-worthy contenders here. Frank Grillo's kicking ass and oozing charisma as usual, and every now and then he ekes out just a smidge of those emotional feels as well. He once again shows us that he has the chops to be a leading man in a big budget action film. Everybody else is solid too. There's nothing bad here, but there's nothing great. They're all just really solid. They all fit the movie that they're in. We also got Iko Uwais and Yuyan Ruhan, both of which played in The Raid. By the way, I'm sorry, I know I just butchered the shit out of your names. However, the performance they give is more of a physical one, and it is badass. Overall, the performances here all fit the movie that they're in and are very solid. Now, one thing that the last film did actually do well was its special effects. And Beyond Skyline is no different. The special effects here are all very well done. Now, the budget this time around did double over the last film, and admittedly, it doesn't seem like this is twice as good, but it is still really good here, and that is just kind of a testament to how good the special effects in the first film were. I mean, there weren't a lot of things about the first movie that were good, but the special effects definitely were, especially for how little money they had. These are some top-notch special effects, and just about everything here looks really good. There is quite a bit of CGI in the film, though it all does look great. However, there is also a really nice mix of CGI and practical throughout. A fair amount of the creatures in the film that you would typically see done CGI, they actually did do practical. These are people in suits, but they use CGI to enhance the whole thing. And it all comes off looking great. The action here is shot really well too. It's never too shaky, it's never like zoomed all the way in, there's not like a million cuts or anything. We get some really nice wide angles and we can see everything that's going on. This is some really nice, exciting shot action. And the action that we're seeing is really good too. Towards the end of the film, we actually get some martial arts action as well, courtesy of our friends from The Raid. Complementing that, we also get a decent amount of gore. The violence has definitely been ratcheted up this time around. It's not like over the top or anything, but the R rating we get here is very deserved. Much like the first film, this is just overall a good looking movie. Guys, I surprisingly really liked Beyond Skyline. While I was able to eke out just a bit of enjoyment from the first film due to that last third, the vast majority of the movie was kind of a bore fest. So it was a bit surprising that we got such a good sequel from such a dull movie. But that's what we got. Liam O'Donnell really came through here. He took a really cool premise and world with some bad characters and inserted some really interesting fun characters and some great action and made a really entertaining film. Beyond Skyline is not a masterpiece, but damn it man, it is a really entertaining movie. And not really even just like a little entertaining. No, it's like really entertaining. This movie is tons of fun. There is a little bit of a lull about halfway through, but it's not that long, and really that's just giving you a few minutes to get a couple of breaths before things really take off and get crazy. This was an entertaining ride from beginning to end, and not only was it just a little bit better than the first one, no, this should have been the first one, because Beyond Skyline is worth a buy.
Do it! Do it!
Show me the money!
Do it!
You motherfucker!
So,
Show me the money!
do it!
The fact that we got such a good sequel from such a crap movie just really blows me away. And some of you out there that haven't seen this movie but have seen the original might be calling foul. But no, believe me, I promise, this movie is so much better than the original. So if you saw the promise in the original Skyline, in that world and everything that was going on, if you said, you know what, there was a good idea there was a movie that could have been, but just thought the overall execution wasn't that good, then check out Beyond Skyline, because this is the one that does good on that promise. It's alien invasion popcorn fun. If that sounds like a good time to you, then check out Beyond Skyline, and I can just about guarantee that you'll have a good time. So there it is, guys, my review of Beyond Skyline. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Indonesia. So I guess this has kind of just become Frank Grillo's thing, where you have a movie that is just kind of seen as being slow and boring, and then they have the sequel that they put him in, and it's just like off the charts fucking amazing. It's just a good time. I mean, they did it with The Purge, and now this, and I think there may have even been some other stuff. But this just goes to show that anything you put Frank Grillo in is gonna be fucking awesome. It also echoes something else I said about one of his films more recently, about why he hasn't gotten like a starring role in a major Hollywood movie as of yet. I mean, he's been in some, but he hasn't been like the guy in one yet. And I don't get it. The guy's got everything you need to be an action star. And clearly, he makes franchises better when he's inserted into them. So what the fuck, Hollywood? What are you doing? Are you not paying attention? Are you not looking? You need more fucking Grillo. How many fucking times I gotta say it? Mo Grillo.